This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shasheena Rolle. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news are new developments in the investigation into that fatal human smuggling attempt in waters off Holmes Rock on Friday. 8 persons lost their lives in that incident, including a young boy. An official with the Haitian embassy is now involved in that probe. Joan Davis-Roll has the latest.
As police investigations continue into that ordeal at sea, which claimed the lives of 8 persons, the representative of the Haitian embassy on Grand Bahama, Lorena Guzmaz, is calling the tragic discovery near shore and waters off Holmes Rock as a devastating blow to the Haitian community.
I was so shocked. It's so sad, to see the people keep doing it, something that where they expose their life to the high risk condition like that. It's better sometimes to take advice, to get, information from people before you put yourself, in this condition, because there's only one life. When that's gone, it's over. You're not gonna get another one.
Yusma confirmed that 5 of the victims have Bahamian ties and were known to members of the Haitian community here on Grand Bahama.
It was 5 Haitians bodies, and they have 3 other nationalities, but I don't know exactly. And they had 1 little boy, 5 years old, and 2 females, 2 males. And so far they have 4 people, 4 families who came to clear, these individuals. But we don't know. We're waiting for the Haitian embassy to find out, to send someone over to help them to identify, who's supposed to get the body, who they're supposed to release them to.
The Haitian embassy official says she's convinced that despite their greatest efforts, their message appears to be falling on deaf ears.
Some people, they want to see, they don't want you to tell them. If you tell them over here, if you organize yourself, it's gonna be a better life for you. They want to see what's over there have the most or better. So they have to see, they go to try, they don't take advice. They don't want to listen to people. So until they see the truth. So I always let them know, it's better if you have something in your hands, you don't feel comfortable to live in the Bahamas, it's better to pack up and go home with whatever you have in your hands. You're gonna survive, God gonna provide things for you.
The Haitian official had this message for Haitians everywhere.
I want
to stress that it is important for you to think clearly before making a decision to risk your life on the high seas. I wish to offer my deepest sympathy and condolences to the families of the victims. The human tragedy affects all of us, and anyone who needs further information or assistance, I am here as a Haitian embassy representative to help. Reports say that the victims on board the ill-fated vessel paid up to some $4,000 to make the voyage. Joan Davis-Roll, ZNS Network News.
A safety issue developing in the heart of the city here in Freeport. It centers on road users who are adamant that the safety of pedestrians is being compromised. Sabrina Brown has the details.
This does not say pedestrian crossing. This really says run for your life. Because if you do not...
Residents are concerned about their safety when using the pedestrian crossing in the busy shopping district near the Grand Bahama Port Authority downtown.
On a daily basis, I witnessed cars not even stopping. They almost knocked down a 66-year-old lady yesterday, and I really feel bad about that. If they're going to stop, they need to stop before someone get hurt. I called Central Police Station yesterday in reference to the pedestrian crossing, and the gentleman told me he have to call someone else.
I've witnessed persons being knocked down by vehicles here on the same pedestrian crossing. I've witnessed a lady actually had her scalp peeled back right here in this pedestrian crossing, and she actually landed on the other side.
We shouldn't allow people's lives to cause or to be the change of a problem that's easy to be fixed. We could ask the Port Authority, please, to really look into how the guys who do the road works come and look at the pedestrian to see if you need to put up even a button with the individual's crossing could press to say, okay, you can go across.
I grew up in the United States. You cannot do those things because you hit a pedestrian on a pedestrian crossing, that's almost 10 years in prison.
These residents have a few suggestions of their own that they're hoping the authorities consider to create a safer environment in this area.
I think that the police here in this country could be making more money if they was right here with their speed guns and cameras in front of their car to see that people almost be getting hit.
I'll ask if they could have a crossing guard between the hours of 9 to 5 to put here. It also helps with employment, and it ensures some sort of safety here.
I think what they need to do is actually put an overhead lighting process that blinks to the persons and let them be aware that they must be cautious when they pass in this area or they can endanger somebody's life.
They're also making this appeal to motorists.
Drivers also, when you see people getting ready to cross, please at least use your due care attention, man.
Sabrina Brown, ZNS Network News.
Well, debate is scheduled to continue in Parliament next month on the stem cell research and therapy bill, but it's an issue that many residents know very little about. Tonight, local physician and former Minister of Health, Dr. Marcus Bethel, breaks down this controversial issue. As parliamentarians debate stem cell research and therapy in the Bahamas, many Bahamians may remain unclear as to what this issue is all about. In an interview with ZNS News, local physician and former Minister of Health, Dr. Marcus Bethel, explains.
Stem cell therapy refers to the use of stem cells, which are, by definition, cells with the potential to create body tissues or organs. In other words, they are cells that have tremendous potential to diversify and help create tissue and repair damaged organs.
While stem cell therapies remain in the experimental stage, with the exception of bone marrow transplantation, according to Wikipedia, medical researchers anticipate that adult and embryonic stem cells will soon be able to treat cancer, type 1 diabetes, cardiac failure, neurological disorders, and many others. Dr. Bethel explains that the controversy does not involve adult stem cells.
Adults are perfectly able to give permission and understand what is happening with respect to the use of stem cells derived from their own body. The issue really revolves around the harvesting of stem cells from embryos. Embryos are developing human beings. Human embryos are developing human beings in the womb.
He says the issue boils down to ethical and moral issues when the stem cells are derived from the embryo, which harms the fetus or unborn child. But he notes that the finest forms of stem cells comes from the embryo.
That's where moral and ethical issues came into place and says, no, there's a sanctity to the human embryo. There's a sanctity to human life. You ought not to tread on that ground. That's where the resistance comes in, and it's a proper resistance. We must respect the sanctity of the human body, the human being, even at its earliest stages from conception.
The bill in Parliament for stem cell research and therapy excludes deriving a new stem cell line from a human embryo. Dr. Bethel agrees with this prohibited procedure.
If you do not protect the developing fetus from invasions, unscrupulous invasions, you also run the risk of building an underground industry where poor women in poor countries will be encouraged for a fee to give up either the fetal tissues that we talk about, the placenta, the umbilical cord, and you create an underground industry that, in my opinion, is morally and ethically wrong. And hence we must protect the developing human embryo from conception to birth, including the fetal tissues.
Now tomorrow, Dr. Bethel will talk about the proposed bill in Parliament and the importance of creating the legal framework for stem cell research and therapy. Stay with us, the Bahamas Tonight. The Northern Edition continues right after this.